everybody. You're listening to Flock Talk, episode 16. Today we're going to be talking about fighting games. It should be a good time. So today's episode is going to be about fighting games. Unfortunately, Chris couldn't be with us today, but we have our executive producer, Ryan. It's Rocket Sauce. How you doing?
Hello, everyone. I know that's not a very good version of it, but I'm doing good here, guys. Thanks for having me.
He's the one who taught me. He's the one who taught me how to do that.
Yeah.
That hello. That's where I learned from the best.
Thank you.
And as always, Kathryn.
Hello.
So we're going to be talking about fighting games, but first we got some hot topics to cover.
Hot topic. I'll cover for Chris.
I've been bouncing off a lot of video games recently. So, like, I keep trying to play different things like Batman the Telltale series. I couldn't really get into it. Assassin's Creed, Black Flag I tried. Couldn't get into it. I tried that Forza. Couldn't get into it. I tried a bunch of games, and I've just been bouncing off until we got the Game Pass for Xbox. And I was like, hey, let's see what the Saints Row 4 is all about. And it was phenomenal. I mean, it's got Keith David in it, and he plays Keith David. It's great.
Have you played it, Ryan?
No, I think because it originally came out like on the PS3 and 360, right? And then they got it remastered on the PS4. I think like a definitive edition. So I was trying to get that, but I don't think I've ever seen it on a sale price. I imagine it's got to be like in a $20 bin now. But it's just one of those ones where I think I was keeping an eye out for a sale, and I've just passed on it. And I've had bad experiences, in my opinion, with the Saints Row series. But then again, I haven't played 2 or 3, which I believe I really loved. I've only played Saints Row 2, and I really didn't like that at all. I felt like, and I know it was supposed to be like, you know, a very samey Grand Theft Auto kind of game.
It's supposed to be like a parody of Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. But the second one, I felt I didn't really like at all. Like, I immediately took it back, so it, like, automatically, like, stained the series for me. But I've heard great things about 3 and 4 going forward. I do want to try at least 4 and 3 eventually.
I just kind of watched Miles. I didn't even see all of it, but every time I checked in, like, something really funny would happen, or they'd be, like, really good pop culture references and things like that. So I could see why Miles was, like, super into it. Like, he played it every waking second he had. You finish it in, like, 3 days or something like that.
Yeah, it was like 12 hours because it makes it pretty easy for you to beeline it to your objectives. You quickly realize you're in some sort of a matrix situation, and you gain powers really quickly, like jumping like as tall as the highest building, or running like the Flash, and you can just go from like one side of the map to the other side of the map faster than if you were to take a car just by running. Like, do you know those old Spider-Man games?
Yeah.
And you just feel like you own the city when you're swinging through it. You're like, the mobility in this game, it just feels so good. And that was the feeling I got with Saints Row 4. It's also really funny, and it transcends genres. There's a part in the game that is an old school computer adventure game. There's a part of the game that's a 16-bit beat 'em up. There is a Tank Wars game.
You're spoiling it for
I'm just saying there's a lot of like interesting takes, and they switch it up and do cover a lot of genres of game.
Yeah, because I think that's a problem with a lot of games like that is the kind of samey feel to it that you talk about, where you're just doing the same thing over and over again, and now it's just like missions over and over again that are the same, whereas this one just changes the look and feel of the entire game as you're playing it. So that seemed to keep your interest longer than these types of games normally do for you. Right?
Absolutely.
So,
I think you'd like it, Ryan. You should check it out.
Now, the one that's on Game Pass, is that like the 360 one, or is that actually like the definitive Xbox One?
It has all the DLC in it.
Okay.
It has like the Christmas DLC and Enter the Dominatrix. It's 3 and 4. It has the third one as well. And the graphics, I could tell, like, it didn't look like a new game by any stretch of the imagination, but it also didn't look bad. I would recommend checking it out, especially if you have Game Pass. There's nothing to lose. You just download it, and if you don't like it, then delete it.
Well, I'm just gonna have to add it to my look for pickups list, I guess.
But you're not going to get Game Pass? It's such a good deal.
Not this time. I'm waiting for some games I really, really like. When the Xbox has their first exclusive that I really, really want to play, that's when I think I'm going to dive into Game Pass.
like
No.
Sea of Thieves?
Yeah, when Microsoft has their exclusive that I really, really want to play,
that
that
exclusive.
yeah, that exclusive, that's when I probably will jump in. I know it's a good deal. It's just I figure because I think what is the first month free or is it a week that's free if you do the
I
trial?
think it's 2 weeks. I think it's
14
14
days.
days.
Okay, I think from what I've looked that's already on there, there wasn't like much to make me want to jump on immediately.
I think that's fair.
So
Yeah, it makes sense.
and they're promising, I believe, on adding more to it. I guess I'm just waiting for maybe E3 for them to come out and say this is Game Pass this year and this is what you're getting or something for me to say okay, I'm jumping on.
So what are you actually playing right now?
So right now I am playing Mass Effect Andromeda, and I've been playing this game since probably December, and I still feel as if I've made like no dent in this game. I know some people would probably have given up a long time ago, and I feel as if I probably should have done too, but I feel as if I'm too far into this game to just give up now.
That's the worst feeling.
I know.
Though.
It's just like it's like once I see the credits, I think I'm just gonna put this game away forever because I don't think it's ever gonna be worth a dime. That's the worst when it comes to trying to resell something like this. It's already been like in the discount bins already. I bought my copy brand new for $15. It's like it's one of those ones where it's like okay, I guess you didn't lose much out on this brand new game, but it's also as a fan of the original, I guess 3 Mass Effect games, like this one is a big disappointment. I think it suffers way too much from having too many things to do, because it seems like your whole squad keeps coming up to you and saying, "Hey, thanks for helping me out for this loyalty mission. I got something else for you. Can you help me do this?" And it's like it seems like everyone has the same exact mission. It's like, "Hey, help me go to this area," and that's it, and then that's it. And then
Can't you go by yourself? I mean, you've clearly went up the ranks and crew member to join me on this mission. As a friend, you should be able to do something by yourself.
I mean, but the thing is, you always have to bring 2 people with you. So it's like, okay, well, let's go do this side mission with you guys. Let's go do this side mission. I haven't looked down the rabbit hole for this game. I think some of the older ones have like cause and effects, or you get a different ending, like the worst ending. And when you tell me there's like a good ending in a video game, I always try to strive for it. I'm doing probably way too many side missions, and I'm about ready to give up on doing any more for the rest of the game and just try to focus on the story just to beat this game.
I'm getting super annoyed with the good ending thing. I don't like that there is a way to not get the ideal ending. I guess it rewards loyalty,
Yeah.
maybe, and determination, but I'm not that good at games. And I feel like I shouldn't be punished for that.
And there's too many good games out there. You want to move on to the next good game.
Yeah, I know.
You don't want to like be stuck at this,
Yeah, because
especially
good endings really mean like time and effort, right? It rewards you doing everything there is to do in the game, and that's hard to do sometimes.
Well, and sometimes if I'm really loving the game, that doesn't bother me. But this game, it's one of those ones where it's just like, okay, just go put some more time into this game.
Yeah. Do you normally try to platinum games and stuff like that?
No, I'm not a big trophy or platinum guy. I just want to see my credits. Essentially, is what it is. And if there's a good ending, that's fine to it.
you want to see better credits.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe sometimes the good ending is the one that comes sooner.
No. Well, in this case, this game, yeah, probably. But you could see why it was flawed. I'm still seeing like little glitches in the game, and I believe EA said they're not even patching anymore, or is it BioWare is not even patching anymore? Like they've given up.
They're all on Anthem now, right?
Yeah.
All their eggs are in the Anthem basket?
I think so. If Anthem doesn't work, then I don't know what's going to happen. What's going to happen?
I'm about ready to hop on too for Kingdom Hearts next month's game of the month, I believe. Is that next month or is it
No, Last
Next
of Us.
one's
Last of Us?
Last of
Oh,
Us.
then I'm gonna just jump into that. That game's a fun game where you can hammer out in 11, 12 hours or so.
Did you finish it already? Have you finished
Yeah,
it?
I love that game. I've never played the remastered version on the PS4. I've been holding off on it for a
Ooh.
while.
Yeah, do it.
I did play the DLC though for it that came with it, and I love the DLC story. I almost
Yeah, it's great.
You don't happen to know if the DLC will carry over into this edition by chance, will you?
It's included in the remastered, I'm pretty sure.
As a free DLC.
Does it play along in the story part of it too, or do you just have to automatically go to?
You have to play it separately.
Ah, okay.
That would be really cool, actually, if it were integrated right into the game.
Because it takes place like right in the middle of the game, right? if I remember correctly.
It's when you go into winter.
Yeah, and no spoilers for anyone who hasn't played the game yet, but it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
And also the multiplayer is really good. So if you've already played this game and you don't want to play it again for monthly, what you could do is just jump onto that multiplayer game.
Yeah, but you had a hard time firing it. I don't think people are really playing the multiplayer that much, so the games don't fire that often.
Well, you know what? Contact me and we'll get a group together.
There we
yeah,
go.
we
Maybe
played a
it'll fire.
lot of the multiplayer.
Good discussion for the month.
Well, it's really funny because when we got our PlayStation 4, we got the Last of Us version, right? So it came with it on it. And Miles was playing it and he's like, I can't even tell the difference. But I was like, you can't see the difference? Like, it looks amazing. And it took you a really long time to see. And I think it was probably even just like scenery. I was like, look at the grass. Like, you can see every blade of grass. Can you tell now? And he's like, oh yeah, it does look really good. It looks a lot better. It's really beautiful.
It's actually your favorite game of all time,
It's
right?
my favorite game of all time.
I can't wait for that sequel. That sequel too,
Oh, I know. I'm nervous for it because I want it to be really
It's
good.
gonna be good. Like, it's Naughty Dog. Like,
Well, I know, like, when that trailer came out, they were criticizing it because it just looks like violence for violence sake almost. But I think it's just the trailer. Like, I think if you were to go through The Last of Us, the original one, and take out like major story points, it would also just look very violent, right? But there's a lot of story that fleshes out those pieces together.
and those
right?
characters
That
look kind of
kinda stick-
interesting. The ones that they showed in the trailer.
Yeah, I'm nervous, but because I want it to be so good. I think it's probably my most anticipated game of all time. Like, I've never been so excited.
Do you think it comes out this year?
I don't know.
It would be
I don't
weird
want
to-
it to if it's not ready.
To come out next to Days Gone, right? Like, and Days Gone's coming out this year.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I don't know if Last of Us has a confirmed date for this year, but Days Gone, I believe they said summer or something for this year. So
Oh, did they? Okay.
I think.
Yeah, it's like two big zombie exclusives. Probably shouldn't release them on the same year.
PlayStation has a lot coming out this year for them too, so it's like maybe it's best to hold off for maybe 2019 and really just polish it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be okay with that. Like, I'm anxious to play it, but I'll play it whenever it comes out. It doesn't matter when it comes out.
And it would be kind of fitting for it to be like one of the last games for the PS4 generation.
Mm-hmm.
Because The Last of Us it kind of showcased what the PS3 was able to do at the end of its lifespan. And I think we're getting pretty close to PS5 territory, right?
Really?
I think so. In the next 2 years, I think we're going to get an announcement.
Oh, I can imagine 2 years. That'd be probably announcement time. Most console lives were only about 6 years, and I think we're in year 4 or 5 now.
Yeah, PS3 was 7 years, right? It was 7 years until the PS4 came out, I think.
I think it came out 06, and then the PS4 came out in 2013, I think.
But what was the lifespan for the Jaguar? That's the question that I had, and nobody can answer.
I think it's six months, I think is what you got,
So what have you been up to, Kathryn?
Oh, well, a long time ago on this show, I made a stupid claim that I would finish Dragon Age Inquisition by the time CC Chicago rolls around. And then I was like, I better start now because the chances of that happening, they get slimmer and slimmer as the weeks go by, even though we're months away. And I'm pretty sure I'm further than I've ever gotten. Oh, because I got a trophy for recruiting someone. So I was like, I guess I never recruited this guy before. As many false starts as I have, I don't really remember the game very well. So it's all pretty new to me. I'm far enough in now that I think that I can probably stick it out. It's just that it's really big. There's a beginning area and like you kind of get sent back to places and like so the storyline sends you to very specific places and that opens up more places, but then sometimes it sends you back to somewhere you've already been and then that opens up more quests. I wish it was like in some ways I kind of wish it was a little bit more linear where like you visit a place, you do all the quests and then you kind of move on. But it's just like every time I go back to like it's one of the first places you go to and every time I go back it just you open the quest log and it's giant. I'm like I just completed like 10 quests in here. And then you open it up and because a lot of the quests kind of like if you just talk to a person, it just updates your quest log and you don't like if you don't really pay attention what people are actually saying to you, which sometimes happens to me, Like they'll just say, "Oh, there were some weird wolves over there. Maybe you could check it out." And then all of a sudden, you have like a quest that sends you somewhere. And so I opened up my log, and I was like, "Ah, there's just so much more to do in this one little area that I just turned it off." But I'll go back to it. Like
It's funny. It seems like the exact same problem Rocket Sauce is having with Mass Effect Andromeda.
I was just about to say
BioWare
that. Yeah,
games.
I was just about to say that too.
like I know that I'm advancing the story because like major things happen, but then every little thing that I have to do in one area just starts to become really tedious, and I get like really annoyed with just like, oh, I found 4 of 5 of these things. I'm just gonna have to go find the 5th one. Like it's gonna drive me nuts.
Yep.
And you don't have to complete all these quests, right? You can just move forward. I think that I'll probably will be underpowered. Dragon Age has a lot of crafting your armor and like adding mods and stuff to it, and I'm like really lazy with that sort of thing. So then all my armor is like really crappy and my weapons are really bad, and it takes like an hour of just like looking through all your stuff. What can you make? What else do you need to get?
That's not game. That's not game. Give
I'm
me
happy
game.
when I do it because then the rest of the game becomes a little bit easier, but it's a big investment in time just to maintain your characters.
That's just sorting and like organizing stuff. Like if I wanted to do that, I'd just take control of my real life.
Yeah.
Maybe do some of that with my real life. I don't need to know exactly how many pieces of cloth my character has and how they're different colors and which piece of cloth goes with which hat.
Well, I have recruited a Grey Warden, so now I feel like, well, that will be the. When I recruited him, I was like, Miles, I just recruited my new boyfriend because because like.
And I was like, what?
I don't know if you've ever played any Dragon Age, Ryan, but there's like romance options, but like
Yeah, Mass Effect's got that too.
at a certain point, the romance
Saints Row
option
has
comes
that
up.
too.
Yeah, it comes up in the conversation wheel, and like sometimes I miss it. So I'm like, oh, I missed my chance to romance that person. But I was like, I'll just go talk to this guy until that romance option comes up. So I'm working on this Grey Warden now. He's gonna be my new boyfriend. That's my hot topic. It's pretty hot.
In my relationship meter in Saints Row, it was just like hit on this person.
Oh yeah, it
So
was
just
really
like
forward.
Yeah, it was like hit on this person. So I clicked it to see what would happen, and my character's like, "Yo, Kinsey, wanna f-bomb?" And then the character punches me in the face and then jumps on top of me, and we have sex. I was like, "Yeah, that's a game. Look at that, BioWare."
Well, I was gonna say the funny thing is the one character I think I was gonna I wanted to romance, I got it rejected immediately in Andromeda. I was like, well, I guess this one ain't happening, so I have to look for an alternative here.
That happened to me in Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah, where she goes to me, she's like, I'm sorry, I'm all about work. I'm not about relationships. I'm like, what?
That's what happened in Dragon Age Inquisition. The guy's like, I'm too busy for this. I'm
Yeah.
like, I wish I had time in my life. I'm like, this is so
I'm too
annoying.
busy organizing all my stuff.
I guess I won't be helping your side missions here. I'll just put those on the back burner here now.
We're basically playing the same game. Yours is just set in space.
Yeah, and yours is with dragons.
It's the only difference.
And there's no gnomes in either of them. That's a shame.
Yeah.
That's a shame. No gnomes.
There are dwarves.
Not the same. I need gnomes.
No, it's not.
Well done. So we talked a lot about BioWare just now, but we're going to move on over to some fighting games where we can finish them and maybe get some friendships.
Hello, I'm Eric from the Mighty Q Dog channel. Here in the Q Dog house, we accept only the highest level of quality, which is why we listen to the Polykill podcast. Twice a month, hosts Caleb and Scott break down the video game issues of the day, offering...
It's not the one with Caleb.
What?
It's not the one with Caleb and Scott.
It's not the one with Caleb?
Polykill has Travis and Jake.
Who?
Travis and Jake.
Who the Swayze are Travis and Jake? Yeah, okay, I got it. Yee-hoo! Listen to the Polykill podcast with hosts Jake and Travis. Get in on the topic of discussion. With Polykill, you'll want to just beat it.
So when I was a kid, Mortal Kombat was like the biggest thing when it came out. And when they announced that it was getting ported over, well, they didn't announce it. It wasn't like an announcement thing. It just happened. It just existed all of a sudden, where Mortal Kombat was on the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, and it came out. I wanted to be the cool kid in class, so I told everybody I bought Mortal Kombat, when in fact I just rented it. And I remember inviting people over to my place, and my mom had made reference to Mortal Kombat being rented instead of bought, and everyone went and looked at me, and
Yeah,
I was
caught in a
like,
lie.
yeah, but this game's real fun, right, guys? Changing
You
the subject.
lured them to
I
your
lured them
place.
in, yeah. And in fact, I wasn't the cool one. Another story about me being not cool is I was at the arcade at Play It Again Sports, and I was playing Street Fighter 2, and I asked my mom to drive me there to play Street Fighter 2 in the arcade, and she gave me some quarters, and I wanted to beat the game. That was the goal, but someone came in and crushed me. Like, because you could do that. You could be
Yeah.
a new challenger and beat the person, and then you take over and you get to play the solo game on your own. And my mom got so mad at me. She was like, why did you let that guy play?
Oh, no.
And she was yelling at me, and I felt so bad.
Oh, no.
So I haven't touched a fighting game since 1996, just because I've been so scarred. That's not true. I've been playing a lot of fighting games. I love fighting games.
You're such a strict German mom.
She's very strict. If we do another sports episode, I'm going to tell you an NBA Jam story that has scarred me as well. I don't know. Do you two have strict German moms or?
No,
My mom is not German.
I have a strict Polish mother, if it helps.
And what does she think about fighting games?
She doesn't care. She doesn't care.
She supports you no matter what.
Yeah, she's just like, whatever, video games, who cares? Yeah, as long as I don't interrupt her stories, she's fine. But no, I remember Mortal Kombat 2. That was huge. I know people speak of Street Fighter being huge, but Mortal Kombat, in my eyes, was bigger, at least in my childhood. I remember when it came out, I saw it at the skate rink first, and then a couple months later, it was available for rent. I remember when games... going to the mom and pop shop, only having like one copy of a game. So like I really wanted to rent that game. So I figured go to Blockbuster because they always had more copies. They had like a whole 2 rows dedicated. One for Super Nintendo, was just all Super Nintendo, and then one all for Genesis. And then they actually had a Game Boy and a Game Gear like section. They never rented games at Blockbusters for Game Boy or Game Gear. That's how big that game was. But all of them were checked out, so we went back to the mom and pop shop, and actually someone returned a copy. And my dad, was renting the game, and the guy goes, "Do you want the code for blood?" And my dad's like, "Yes." My dad my dad wanted to see this because he heard all the talk about it on television. We're like, "This is insane. People's hearts are getting ripped out and heads are getting ripped off." He's like, "I kind of want to see this." So my dad he's just like, "Yeah, give me the code for blood here." And my dad's like, "All right, type this in, and I want to see what's going on here." And as well as moments where it's like, he was kind of taken back by it too, because the graphics for
It's
it at the
pretty
time.
shocking.
Yeah. Well, also the graphics at the time were like, "Wow, this is amazing."
It's like real people.
Yeah.
Right?
Is that the first time when they would like fall through the floor and onto the spikes on the ground?
Yeah, that was in the first game.
I played Mortal Kombat 3, I think, in an arcade, and 2, I think, on PC. I had like a friend who had it on PC. He got rid of it because it was wrecking his computer, right? Because there's 2 people on the same keyboard just mashing the buttons. And he's like, yeah, my computer's going to break after if I leave this on here, because we just kept going over to play it. And it was like smashing his keyboards, and then like, thanks, see you later.
You also played it at the university, right?
Yeah, so this dates me a little bit because I'm a lot older than you guys, but there was a little arcade in the basement of the law library, and that's where we used to, I'm not a lawyer, but we used to just go to that library to study because it was a really nice one. And anytime my friends were like, "Oh, we're going to the law library to study," I would go just so I could go play. I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll go study." I was a very bad student, but I would just go, I'm like, "Yeah, have fun studying," and I would just go to the basement, and I think it was free even or something. Like, it was just, and like eventually they stopped letting non-law students study in that library because I think they had
There's
like
just a lineup for
they had
Mortal
the best
Kombat.
vending machines and stuff. I think I was the only one ever down there in that arcade. I never saw anyone else except for other friends I would bring down there to play. But then I'm a Tekken person. I know Ryan doesn't really like Tekken that much, but mostly just because I was a PlayStation person more than anything. So Tekken was like the first fighting game on that I played.
I really like Tekken as well. It was one of those games that I never really had people to play against until Tekken Tag Tournament came out in the arcade. And there would be huge lines for that game at the arcade. It was like, it flowed really well. That was the first one with Eddie Gordo, so you could do the capoeira stuff that everybody really
Oh, that was
enjoyed.
the first one he was in?
As far as I know.
Oh, okay.
But that was the first one I saw him in. but I really enjoyed that one. And
No one
I
could play as Eddie Gordo. He was so hard to play.
it's all button mashing. A lot of these fighting games, you just get in there and go, I don't know what I'm doing.
I like Tekken because like all like my family, none of them are really gamers, but they really like Tekken for some reason. Like because it is just button mashing mostly, but you can get pretty far just kicking. Like if you just pick a character that's got really good kicks, you can get to the end of like the arcade mode. But I have one friend who she wasn't so great at the fighting games, and she would put the controller on the floor and play it kind of like a typewriter. Like she would just like button mash, but using all four fingers on each hand and just mashing, like not knowing anything she was doing. And she was the only one that could play Eddie Gordo because like if I played Eddie Gordo, he'd be like upside down, in his legs would be in splits, and then he wouldn't do anything because I wouldn't know what the next move is. But her random button mashing, he'd be like spinning and actually breakdancing and stuff. Or is it capoeira? Is that what he's doing? And like, oh, that's what he's supposed to do. But it looked really funny because she would have to sit on the floor to be able to play.
Yeah, no, I liked him. I liked using him. I was a Hihachi man myself, but
Good kicks.
he's got the good kicks and those wooden sandals. Oof. One game that I had always heard rumors about in my building where I grew up was this game called Thrill Kill, and it was never actually released. But it was said to be like the most violent, like Mortal Kombat times 100, where you can like rip somebody's arm off and hit them with it and do all sorts of weird things. And I remember it was either a Game Pro or something that had a screenshot and a small synopsis of this game, but it was never released. Cut to maybe 2 years ago, I'm buying and selling like collections and trading for video games, and I get this lot of a modded PlayStation and a bunch of burnt games. And one of the games in that stack said Thrill Kill. And I was like, what is this? This exists? This is the game I've always wanted to play. The game I've always been looking for. And I play it, and it's all polygons, and I'm like, it's garbage. But if it came out at the time, I think I would have loved it. I think I would have been all over that game.
Have you ever played it, Ryan?
I've never heard of that one before.
I didn't know anything about it, and he was
Yeah.
so excited, and I was like,
It doesn't have an ending because there's no programmed ending. If you look it up, like the game was never actually finished.
oh.
But you can play through the arcade mode. It's got like 6 characters to choose from. And it
Was
is
it really violent?
Yeah, I mean, as violent as a game from PlayStation could be, it's all just like
Like
polygons.
we laugh at violence
Yeah.
now from back then, what people considered violent. Like if you played the new Mortal Kombat,
Yeah.
those finishing moves are
And they've got the bone breaker
the bone
moves.
breakers and the X-ray stuff. I enjoy it. It's pretty gruesome, but I really like watching it. I'm always like, try to do one of those moves because I just like when I like watching it for some reason. I think it's so over the top that it doesn't feel
Well,
like.
yeah, I mean, like they show like some guy's kneecap getting shattered, and the guy gets back up and walks right perfectly fine after that. You know, it's,
Yeah, so
Or
it's-
Scorpion's like rope hook goes through somebody's skull.
yeah,
And then they
they're perfectly
stand
fine.
up.
They're perfectly fine. Yeah,
I think there'd be a little bit of blood, personally, just dripping out of there.
I like the X-ray moves. I think that
Oh, they're great.
They're so entertaining.
It's a ton of fun. I love that game a lot. I played through that campaign, and then I ended up trading the original for the XL one, and then
So you play as like Jason.
yeah, Jason, Leatherface,
Predator.
the Predator, and the
Alien, yeah.
Xenomorph. Yeah, and Freddy Krueger was in a previous Mortal Kombat too.
a nine,
I
yeah.
love their DLC characters, man. Those are good choices for
Yeah,
that game.
they're destroying it right there at NetherRealms for their DLC, even for Injustice 2, which is very much the same exact playstyle, but not nearly as violent. Before we go on to Injustice 2 here for a second, I want to talk about how, for the last Mortal Kombat, though, the one thing I love about like fighting games, and I think it's important, is when you have an established roster, keeping that roster, you can add to it. But I didn't like that they took away like famous characters in 10 a little bit, or X.
Okay.
You know, they took away some of the famous characters, and some of them are back, but or they changed them like they're older now or something. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
They're establishing new characters. It seems like they're trying to establish new characters, but I kind of hope when they go back with the next one, they bring back more of the classic characters. Like, I think Rain was just a character you could fight. You couldn't actually fight as him. You can only fight him in the story mode. So that's a character I would like back.
Raiden?
No, Rain.
Oh, I
Rain.
thought you said Raiden.
Rain was one of the like the Scorpion, Sub-Zero looking
Yeah.
people.
That's who I played in the arcade. I can still do his moves. Like,
Raiden?
Yeah, I can still play Raiden. That's the only one whose moves I remember. Tekken 7 is a little bit like that too, and they does Mortal Kombat also introduce like the next generation of the same, like in Tekken it's like Eddie Gordo's daughter, and then like
Yeah, Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade's daughter is in the new one.
oh, okay, yeah, so
And
like,
she's pretty great.
that's kind of how they do it, and then they play very similarly, right? So
She's like a hybrid between Sonya and Johnny Cage, basically.
But
Oh,
she's
really?
like a
Should she play
millennial.
like that?
Like her finish move is that she like blows up somebody's jaw and then takes a selfie with them and posts it on Facebook.
Yeah. I think I remember you showing me that when you.
That's actually the moment the game was sold to me. I was like, I saw that finisher and I was like, okay, this is great.
That's
This
pretty
is
funny.
hilarious.
The thing I didn't like, Tekken 7 doesn't have like a proper arcade or the story mode arcade, like where you play through a character all 10 rounds.
It has the modern game, modern
has, like,
fighting
a
game story mode.
round little thing. It has like a
Well, no, they have the
know
story
what it
mode where you play different characters throughout the story mode. Like,
yeah, it has that.
it has that, and that's kind of like the modern fighting
That's
game
the way
story
they are
mode.
now. Yeah.
And then it has this other thing where you play as each character and you play one fight. One story fight as each character. That's like a subplot.
yeah, and it's specifically with their matching character where they have a story with them. I mean, you used to be able to play like the arcade 10 wins, and then you'd get like a fun little
cutscene,
like a little video story for each one, and I really loved that a
Yeah,
bit.
me too.
And so this one, it was just, they kind of fall short because it's like just like a one fight thing, and it doesn't last very long, and then it has like a really really short video clip.
I would like to see both, because I do like with Mortal Kombat and Injustice, I like seeing that story mode, that like 6 hour, you get to play as different characters and you see how they all interact with each other. I like that, but I also like the arcade mode as a side thing after I'm done, and I
Yeah.
could play as a character and then maybe get a mid tournament cutscene and then a final cutscene. I'm being a little greedy, but that's my dream fighting game.
No, that's something that should be included almost in any fighting game these days, in my opinion. I find, honestly, most stories to be like boring for fighting games anyways. I enjoy my big problem, and I'll give an example with like Street Fighter V or Street Fighter V. So if you want to use V as your
ABCs?
as your CCAVC. So my big complaint about that is their story mode. So you play you get a fight where you play the same character for 2 fights, then it goes on to the next character, and then on to the next character and the next character. And for the majority of the game, the story mode, like the level of difficulty for everyone you fight was at an all-time low until you fight Bison, which it seems like they cranked up the computer difficulty to 10. But I've barely played as Ryu in the game, so I'm getting completely owned on the final boss battle.
Oh, because you're forced to play as Ryu?
Yeah, it forces you to play as Ryu. So in that case, I don't like that, because then they essentially want you to go back to do training mode so you can master the character, to go back and beat the final part of the game. I don't want to do that. I honestly prefer the arcade mode more than anything. My biggest gripe with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is that the story mode is boring. But I love playing the arcade mode because I can actually learn the character roster that I want to play with. And then it's the final boss fight anyways, too, when you get to the final. It's like 6 fights. And but over that time, I learn my roster of the guys I want to roll with. With story mode, I don't learn my characters. I'd rather play arcade mode.
But it gives you a taste. It's the sampler platter. It's a little sampler platter. You get a little calamari. You get a little mini pizza. You get a slider. You get a sweet potato fry.
Like Marvel versus Capcom, because you played.
Get a dumpling.
Did you play the story mode for that?
Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Yeah, I did not like the story mode. I thought it was painful.
I think part of the issue, though, is that like Marvel characters all have story, and you know who all those characters are. But like, if you throw a Capcom character in there, and like how much story do they really have? Like,
well, they all have their own games that they can draw from. But how much does Hagar have to say to Mega Man? That's like, how much do those
it's
two
very-
have in common?
yeah, that's a little bit forced. Like, Injustice is great, right? Because like its interactions maybe of characters that don't normally talk to each other, but it makes sense, right? They're all in the same universe, so it's not weird. But like, yeah, it's kind of weird seeing Mega Man still kind of looking like a cartoonish kid, but then talking to like a human, right?
Yeah.
And
Talking to that guy from that zombie game. What was it?
Frank West.
Dead Rising?
Frank West.
Yeah, Frank West.
Or roided out Chris from Resident Evil or something like that.
Yeah, that guy's got some guns.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the ones in the holster, you know what I'm saying?
Ew.
Hey,
But yeah, that game overall I think was pretty disappointing for me. I felt like the matches went on for so long. It was just way too long, especially the final boss in that story.
Yeah.
I think it took me like a half an hour. A fighting game, the one fight took like half an hour to finish, which is way too long for a fighting game.
It was really challenging, that final boss fight, until I found out the cheap tactic, which is, I believe you have the soul stone, so all you have to do is just keep hitting soul stone to drain his life. That's all you have to keep doing, and then you don't have to even really fight him. You can just keep doing that.
Yeah, I just kept rezzing
Yeah.
constantly. Like one character would res the other character, and then we'd do like 2 tiny ticks on his life total, and then res. I sold the game immediately.
I can understand, but for me, that is still probably, like, honestly one of my favorite fighting games at the moment. And it's just because of the gameplay of I found, like, I think the crew I like playing with at the moment, and playing games online against that one, like, I've had some of the best, like, moments in fighting history for myself playing Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite online.
oh, you play online? That's so stressful.
That's the fun. The win is like the biggest thrill you could ever achieve, basically, you know.
And speaking of thrills, it's a thrill for us to win a small online game, but for the pros out there, the thrills are getting those titles, winning huge checks,
That's
and
right.
being seen on streams by, a huge audience of fighting game fans. I'm talking about Evo, which is coming up shortly. Do you two watch Evo?
It was good to have Ryan on here because we know he's big into Evo.
I do.
And also, Chris doesn't like talking about fighting games because he doesn't really play them. So it's like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity. We can get Ryan here telling us everything about Evo. Like, I'll tweet some stuff, and like, you're probably like the only person who like interacts with it.
I honestly, I look back at going to it a couple of years ago, because I really, even just to get destroyed, just to go and see it like live, I think would be a lot of fun. I've actually competed like for some fighting games. I've only done it for Smash Brothers Wii U or Smash Brothers 4, like at tournaments, and it's all like mini tournaments where people go and they practice essentially against each other, and there's money on the line. So like you put $5 down to play, basically, your hand basically to play. But I'll tell you, that's a whole nother level of stress doing that. Basically, it's you can tell, like, there's people, like, I look back on it after doing it for a few times, and you see people pull out their cell phones and then their earbuds, and they plug in because they don't want. I don't know if they're trying to copy the pros, like how the pros want to block out everybody and just listen for sound cues and everything. And
Gotta
I'm like,
get in the zone.
yeah, like they're trying to de-stress themselves, and I'm like, dude, there's nobody watching us here. It's there's like 100 people else playing games here. You don't have to worry about it. I'm not gonna jaw jab against you. Competing when it's on the line is completely different. Just relaxing on the couch, basically, against playing. It's a whole nother level.
I have a friend who's gone to Evo like several times to play. I played Street Fighter V one time in my life, and it was against him. And when I sat down to play, I was like, take it easy on me. I haven't played this game before. And he's like, oh, did you need a copy of the amount of seconds each move animation
It was like
takes?
frame.
And he had like a chart with all the frames per animation of attack. I was like, no, I don't think I'll need that. And in fact, maybe we shouldn't be playing this game at all.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy the level that they analyze.
And he
the
gets
games.
crushed every year when he takes it that seriously, goes to Evo and gets crushed.
He was in the first Tekken 7 one, right? The
Yeah.
first Tekken 7 at Evo, and it wasn't even released in North America, so it was like basically just Asian players playing, mostly Japanese players, I guess. But he was there for that, and he was like, it was just great to get a chance to play the game, because it was an Evo like 2 years before we even saw it here, right? So that's why I was like super excited when Tekken 7 came out, because I've been watching people play this for years, and I just want to play.
So if you don't know what we're talking about, Evo is a fighting game tournament series that started in 1996. It was originally called Battle by the Bay, and it was a West Coast Street Fighter arcade tournament. And they had like 100 people show up just to play this Street Fighter in the arcade. And eventually, over time, more and more people started showing up, and they changed the name to Evolution in 2002. And we know it now, of course, as Evo. It's been picking up a lot of steam, and it really is one of the very first major league gaming institutions and tournaments that ever existed.
And they announced a kind of a new lineup of games this year.
Yeah, and surprisingly, the boring Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite didn't make it.
Yeah.
Which is like, I feel like it's entertaining though, which is maybe unfortunate that it's not there. Like, is this the first year they haven't had it?
Yeah, it's the first year in a long time. Because Marvel vs. Capcom 3's been there forever. And this is the first year that's not even included because they figured,
This would replace it.
yeah, and I think Capcom has realized they made a lot of mistakes with this game coming out too. And I think they're trying to maybe take a step back. Street Fighter 5 had a bad release at launch too. I remember I got a lot of criticism, but over the last couple of years, Capcom has kind of amended what they did basically, where people really like it now.
Or did they patch it and stuff?
Yeah, they made patches. They did the story mode that people complained wasn't there, and
Oh, okay.
they did a lot of things to make the fans of Street Fighter very happy. So
I heard they basically made a new game on top of it. Like, I heard that they released the game and it was basically a demo, and they were like, "There's more to come.
Yeah.
Don't worry," and it was all patched. So there's going to be 8 games this year. It's Tekken 7, Smash Brothers on the Wii U, Street Fighter 5 Arcade Edition, Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle, Guilty Gear Xrd, probably Revelator 2, Injustice 2, Smash Brothers Melee, and Dragon Ball Fighter Z. Smash Brothers Melee, that's a new one, right?
yep, that's
New.
for the GameCube.
So there's still a GameCube game being played in the 8 games
that-
chosen for Evo.
Do people think of that game as being the best, like, Smash Brothers game? Or
Melee fans do.
Like, it's got
Yeah.
a big community of
Yeah,
just
that's
people
what
who
I
only
thought.
play this one
They,
game.
they won't let it die. That's the thing. They won't let that game die. There's a documentary on YouTube too, if anyone's ever interested in watching it. Can't remember the name off the top of my head. I wish I would have prepared that for you guys. But if you just look up, like, I'm sure, like, Smash Brothers Melee documentary, you'll find it. It's like an 8 or 9 part series on YouTube. It's really well put together. Follows the life of a bunch of fighters from when it started into where it is now.
Oh, interesting.
Melee is probably my least favorite of all the Smash Brothers 2 playing it. It's a broken game. It's bugged, and that's the reason people like playing it, because they, exploit the glitches and the bugs.
Is it fun to watch that? Like, I feel like it kind of feels like you're just watching people cheat.
No, well, it's like the fastest Smash Brothers, so people like it for that. It's pretty difficult to learn, but I guess once you learn it, you'll love it. I've seen the tournaments. Like I said, I've attended Smash Brothers tournaments. I've played the Wii U version, and Melee fans, they are the worst. They're like the worst of the worst people.
Oh no.
They take it the most serious too. But like I said, they won't let it die. They're the most devoted of all fans, and people keep coming back to it too. So
The documentary is called just simply the Smash Brothers documentary series.
Oh, interesting. Easy to find.
Boom.
I like that Guilty Gear XRD 'cause
Revelator 2.
That could be your X game, just so you know, because that was mine last year for the CCABC. It's actually a really fun one to watch. Like, the characters are so weird, and their moves are super weird. Like, I enjoy it just because it's so bizarre. Like, you have no clue. Like, there's a guy with a paper bag on his head, and
And he opens doors to other dimensions.
yeah, like, it's weird. And then there's like a little pirate girl with a giant anchor and a squid that comes and fights for her. It looks really cool. Like, half the time I don't know what's going on, but I like all the move animations and stuff like that because it's entertaining. And I think Miles and I played it for the first time at like a convention a couple years ago, and we're like, what is this weird game? And then a few months later we saw it on Evo. We're like, oh, that's that weird game. I guess it's pretty popular. I don't know how popular it is,
It's
but
popular to
Enough-
be alongside Smash Melee.
yeah.
have you ever played it?
No, I've played a little bit of Guilty Gear. I can't remember which one I've played. To be honest, like that and Blaze Blue and Dragon Ball Fighter Z, it's because they're all like, so you have like 3 anime fighter games this year. It's
Yeah.
kind of, and they're all tag battle systems too, which essentially was Marvel's calling card.
Oh yeah, and the Blaze Blue, the first time I saw it was at last year. I think maybe last Evo. And the guy who won it was like in tears and stuff. Like I think he has like always been very close to winning a Blaze Blue tournament or something. And so last year he won, and it was a very emotional moment. I'm like, I don't even know what this game is. Like,
Each
I've never
each of
seen
these
it
8
before.
games have their own drama, their own story behind them, and former
Yeah,
competitors.
because
and
Street Fighter 5, I think. Do you know Puck? Is that his name? That little
19-year-old, or he was like 19-year-old last year, I think, or something like that, and he choked in the end.
Oh no, I felt really bad for him because he just seemed so young, and it was like it would have been the first time a North American had won,
Yeah.
and it was like there's so much pressure on this kid, and then he lost in the finals. It was sad. but it was like very dramatic. It was like,
That was our Amadeus episode last year where we covered that.
oh yeah, okay.
And this year, I'm actually really happy about Dragon Ball FighterZ. It's not something that I would be interested in playing, but there's a lot of people who are really excited about this game and love this game, and I'm happy that they have something to watch at Evo that they could identify with. And also, it's a brand new game, right? Like, people are going into this pretty new. We don't know who the best players are yet, and this tournament will definitely showcase them. Also, Tekken 7's been around for a long time at this point, so we're going to really be able to see some tight, high-level play, as well as Injustice 2, I think is going to be a very interesting one to check out. Which ones are you most looking forward to?
For me, it's I'll be tuning in probably for Smash Brothers 4. It's the one I've played the most, and I feel as if I'm probably the best at is that one. I'm well aware of the top guys who've been there because they've been there essentially since the beginning. There's always a couple new people there, but I think it got to the point where there was only one or two guys always who was going to win it. Now to the point where there's like probably about 10 or 15 guys where there's usually always like one guy who's new who came out of nowhere. And it's always fun to see how far they can make it. Plus, like, I love that roster. It's one of the biggest rosters, and it's so much fun to play for me.
Who's your main when you play? Like, who are your mains?
I got like 8.
Like, well,
Yeah.
it's a huge roster. 8 is it really narrows it down.
I guess honestly though, the one I'm probably the most confident with is probably Lucina from the Fire Emblem series. Her or Paulina, I think, right from.
Can you play Wario? Are you a good Wario player?
Where's okay? I'm better with Pac-Man against him, I guess, if you will. Sonic. There's like everyone, like I have like I guess pending the matchup for me is kind of like I was like, okay, young Link is better against this guy, so I'll go. In my opinion, I like playing as Iggy Koopa because if one of the alternate skins for Bowser Jr. is like the Koopalings. I love doing like all that little stuff basically, and that's one of the things that's great about Smash Brothers.
Is that just a skin change? Like
Yeah.
he otherwise plays exactly the same?
Yeah, because they all have 8 different skin changes.
Oh, okay.
Bayonetta's fun to play as too, even she's one of the more difficult ones. I guess Smash Brothers is up there for me. Injustice 2, I'm really excited to see for this year. I've yet to play it myself. I'm waiting for that complete edition to come out because I want to play as the Toidles. That's
Yeah.
After seeing the gameplay, that trailer, that reveal trailer for it, and I've been watching people stream it, and
Yeah, they looked actually really good in the game.
I really just want to play as the Turtles so bad.
I love those ultimates though, like the stuff that you could do, like Flash could go back in time and punch somebody into a dinosaur. And I love those animations. And
Yeah, they have the best ones, like when you smash through the walls and stuff
the
like
walls,
that,
yeah,
and it goes
yeah.
to a different environment. I also like in Tekken 7, there's a female player that often does like pretty well. I remember reading an interview with her, and she just really liked the way Tekken 7 looked, and she just spent all of her time in the arcade to learn it. Like she's only been playing for a couple years. Like she does really well. There aren't a lot of female fighting game pros out there, right? So she's pretty good and pretty fun to watch. And I guess like it's just a big deal because she's not just a female, and she does really well, and gets a lot of attention because it really is pretty much all guys. So it's kind of nice to see a female break through that.
and could bring in a whole new audience. Of
And the
people.
other thing too, like I think now that North American players have access to the game, most people use a fight stick. But it's funny because like there are actually a bunch of people who just use to use the PlayStation controllers and stuff like that.
Well,
So
didn't someone win Street Fighter 4 like 2 years ago with the PlayStation 1 controller? Like he had
Really?
like a USB port that he could plug into like a 360 so he could use his PS1 controller.
that's amazing.
He beat everyone. Everyone essentially from the majority of fighting games, I believe, with the exception of maybe the Injustice and Mortal Kombat series, uses fight sticks. And it's because of how the movesets are, where it's easier to do like up-down attacks or,
Even Smash.
Smash Brothers is essentially seen as mostly the GameCube controller. And the main reason why is because they want you to have a direct connection to the console. They don't want to have wireless controllers for the fact that interference can happen. You can lose there's a chance that you could say your input didn't go through because it lost it through the wireless signal, or they're afraid of someone else accidentally hitting the button and pausing the game basically on their controller that was originally synced. So that's why essentially for fighting game tournaments they want you to use a direct connection to the console. So GameCube controller, fight stick, or if you're going to use a controller you have to plug it in via a USB port.
That makes sense.
I guess,
And
yeah.
it's what they all want too, right? They don't want to lose connection or have an input not register. And did you see also the fight pads that don't have joysticks, where it's 4 buttons instead of a joystick?
It
Because
looks like a controller.
yeah, but it's only buttons. There's no D-pad or joystick.
Interesting.
But because they say that the buttons you can input faster than a joystick.
makes sense. If you're a fast typer or something.
Interesting.
Yeah, but that was it for our fighting games discussion. Now it's time to move over to odds and ends.
Odds and ends.
Nailed it.
Doing my best, Chris.
So odds and ends, we talk about some different things that are going on. Coming up on May 6th this year is the Barry Game Exchange. So definitely put that in your calendars. Don't forget about it. We'll remind you closer to the actual event.
Yeah, we'll have all the details as we get closer. But we do know that Miles is running some Magic stuff there, so...
Yeah. So if you play Magic, follow the Magic channel and Milo the Gathering on Twitter, and you'll find out more about that. Ryan, anything to plug? Anything upcoming that you want to talk about?
The Midwest Gaming Classic here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
I heard there's going to be a Cartridge Club panel.
Correct.
Is that true?
Yeah. The show, it's going to be interesting. We're having at least Sean P1's going to be there. I believe Dean's coming. Chris, the bass guy, is coming. Scott VG Collectaholic, Musty, myself. And if there's any other club members I'm forgetting.
Yeah,
Julian.
Julian, that's right. So the Cartridge Club's going to have a pretty big presence there this year. I know me, Musty, and Julian were there last year. But I love the convention. I've been to Portland, and honestly, I think Midwest gives it a run for the money. It's actually at a bigger event this year, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's growing, huh?
It's something I look forward to every year. I love the vendor floor. There's so much to do, though. The arcade hall is awesome. The pinball hall is awesome. It should be really exciting. So it's April 13th through the 15th this year. So hopefully more club members can make it out there, because it'd be cool to see a first, I guess, Cartridge Club panel, right?
Yeah, definitely. And if you're going to go and check out that Cartridge Club panel, make sure to hit up itsRocketSauce. You say what's up, high five, maybe a hug, see
Maybe
what's going
someone will
on.
record it so we can see it.
Oh, and the Q Dogs are going to be there.
We
Are
were
they
going
going
to.
to?
We were going
Oh.
to shadow drop it, but then it didn't work
we
out.
talked to Musty. We're like, hey, Musty, you're the only one that knows about this. But we're going to see if we can work out a way to show up just
You
unexpectedly.
should do it.
We were just going to arrive.
Couldn't.
But it's not going to work out.
Just road
So
trip.
I know it was really, because we also heard that like P2 might be going. So we're like, oh, this could be a chance to meet P2. And it might be the last chance to see P1 before he goes in deployment. And so we were like, oh, we should really try. And it just didn't work out. We're really disappointed. And it would have been fun to kind of like surprise everyone and be like, we're here. But we'll just have to live vicariously through you. So have a really good time, Ryan.
If you don't know what we're talking about, head on over to cartridgeclub.org and you can find out all about different podcasters and bloggers, writers, YouTubers who create video game content for this community.
Yeah. Do you have any odds and ends?
I watched the Babadook, and it was Babadooky.
Perfect
I saw it in
review.
the background. I don't watch a ton of horror movies, and so Miles would just be like, hey, Kathryn, there's going to probably be some kind of jump scare here, just so you're ready for it. So I wasn't really watching, but I was in the room when it was on. So
I just heard so much hype about that movie, and then when I actually ended up seeing it, I was a little bit disappointed. I mean,
if
there
there
are
was
good.
no hype for the movie, and then you watched it,
Maybe I would have liked it a little bit more.
the
I read
expectations were pretty high for it.
I read somebody take it apart and kind of analyze it and like talk about what the Babadook actually is, and it made me appreciate it a little bit more. But overall, I was still a little disappointed.
Same.
You didn't like it either, right?
Nah, it's just meh.
And you two are both like super into horror movies, so
Correct.
I feel like you have probably a specific idea of what a good horror movie is, and
But on deck, what we're gonna watch today after we finish the record is the Yakuza movie,
oh yeah,
directed by Takashi Miike, and the Phoenix Wright movie directed by Takashi
Miles
Miike.
rented movies for the first time in a really long time. Like we have some sort of like niche video game rental places, and he ended up at one and found these ones, and like he got the Phoenix Wright because he thought I would enjoy it, which I think I definitely am curious about it. So
And it's Takashi Miike. Both of them are Takashi Miike. That's
yeah, he's a well-known, pretty big name to be doing such odd projects.
and I think the Yakuza one's actually produced by Sega.
Ooh.
So
Yeah, it has Sega on the label, like on the DVD label itself. It has the logo.
So I'm excited about that. Anybody else? Anything? Anything? Going once?
Oh.
Going
I was
twice?
I was gonna say Ash versus the Evil Dead returns tonight on Stars for me in the North American region. So that's something I'm really hyped for.
How many seasons is it now?
Season 3 starts tonight, so third season, I guess, going into that. I love the Evil Dead series, the movies, and the TV series is just perfect. It just goes along well with Evil Dead 2 and Evil Dead 3. So if you enjoy those movies, I recommend tuning in to watch it. It seems like just more of it, more of a Bruce Campbell being Ash, just killing deadites, gruesomely with the chainsaw, over the top, violence
And one-liners, constant one-liners.
One-liners. I love it. So I'm excited for it to return tonight. So I'll be tuning in for that.
That's good because the expectations were probably pretty high for that too,
Yes.
and you kind of that's a pretty dedicated fan base that you have to not try to tick off, right? Like they could get very angry if you do it wrong.
Him and Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi have talked about trying to do an Evil Dead 4 for years, and I think they decided it's just easier to do a TV series and you can have more fun with it. And I think you can honestly see it too. I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. I enjoy watching it. It's just good times.
I'm just going to quickly say I've been watching a lot of Overwatch League. I know the Media Mavens were just talking about Overwatch League on their latest episode. And I am just going to say I've earned my first 4 credits for watching live on Twitch. So if you connect your Battle.net account to your Twitch account and your PlayStation and or Xbox account, you earn 1 Overwatch League token for every map that you watch. In Canada, you have to answer a skill testing question, and I didn't realize that, so I watched an entire evening and I didn't get any credits for it. But then I answered the question, and then I just watched 1 match, so I got my 4 credits. But it's working. You need 100 to get a token, or sorry, a skin. But I think if you just watch a couple weeks worth, those tokens will add up quickly, I think.
What was the skill testing question? Was it if the opposing team has a Bastion
It's
and
always
it's giving
math.
you trouble? Okay.
Skill testing question in Canada is always math.
It wasn't
Do
like
you
an
ever-
Overwatch themed skill testing question.
Do they have those in the US?
To be honest with you, I don't know.
It's usually big branded contests. You have to answer. It's usually a pretty simple math question. I don't know.
Wait a second, Rocket. You're telling me that your skill's never been tested?
No, I suck at Overwatch. I play it. I still play it. I enjoy playing it. I haven't felt the urge to watch it as opposed to fighting games. Fighting games are something different for me as opposed to first-person shooters online watching competitively.
I wouldn't normally be watching a first-person shooter online competition, but somehow Overwatch for me, I just everything about it I really love, and I find it very entertaining. But I also understand not wanting to watch it, right? Not being interested enough to watch it. That's probably most people, right? Especially if you're not really that into the game. But a fighting game, it's pretty simple to just sit down and understand what's happening, right? Two guys are just fighting each other. It's hard to understand the skill involved if you're watching someone who's really good at a fighting game because when you're just watching it, it just looks like they're punching each other. But there's timing and skill and stuff like that, and precision moves actually as well. So there's a lot to it that the more you know about it, the more entertaining it is. But it is an easier one to just sit down and start watching.
So big thanks to itsRocketSauce for showing up and teaching us a thing or two about fighting games. We couldn't have done this episode without you, so we really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
And for itsRocketSauce and Kathryn, thank you so much for listening. Take care, everybody, and have a good one. Bye.